So I'm Rodvag, Rvag. With me is Ash Shah, who is known as Dharma Bum on Slack and long username on GitHub. So we're from Philos. We do a lot of stuff with Lotus, and the last more than 6 months we've been working a lot on RPC concerns. Particularly focusing on the ETH side, and we want to just talk to you quickly about what we've been doing, where we've been heading, and possibly get some feedback from you about this. So why are we doing this? Why are we looking at any of this stuff? Well, we think that over time, the increasing reliance on Fevm to unlock new network functionality requires better API support to interact with Fevm. That seems pretty logical. And even SPs are going to be needing to interact with the Ethereum APIs soon as well, as they start to move into smart contract-based markets, and even PDP. It will be smart contract-based. So these APIs are going to become ubiquitous. Mostly, though, we're looking at bridging gaps to builders. There was a time in early days of Filecoin where this was new, awesome technology, and we were very confident that we were setting the stage of in the technology world of how to think about these things. So Filecoin came out with these radical concepts. That was a long time ago, and now we're sort of left dangling in the wind with these things like tip sets and null epochs and all these things that are a little bit weird in the blockchain world. And what that means is there's a bit of a gulf between Filecoin and a lot of dApp developers that are really native to the Ethereum world, where the dApp world is really centralized on the concepts there. So we're now looking at how do we bridge those gaps, so that we make Filecoin a much more comfortable place for dApp developers to come to and not have to really adapt too hard to this new world of Filecoin. So let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's support existing tooling methods and concepts. And let's be honest that we don't get to dictate terms anymore. We don't get to show up and say, hey, who's our cool technology? You guys should learn our thing. That's just not how it is anymore. So let's not force Filecoin's weirdness where it's not necessary, and Eva will recognize this quote. If it doesn't work, they'll just move on. dApp developers will come, try out our stuff. If it's busted, they're probably not going to tell us. They're probably just going to move on to another chain, another place. So let's try and make things work well. We're looking at performance. We've got a lot of signal that performance is a problem, so we're trying to fix those things. Lots of small bugs and inconsistencies. We hear all the time. There's these little things that get in the way. Something's out of place by a tiny bit, and it just screws everything up. So I'll just quickly run through some of the headline stuff that we've been doing the past six plus months. A lot of work has been put into the log format. This is where the rubber hits the road for a lot of Ethereum stuff. So log format is in ETH get logs. It's in the filters. It's in get block transactions, get transaction details. So getting this right is really important. So the stuff that Station's talking about, the subgraph stuff, this is really key. So we've been doing a lot of performance work. We've been doing a lot of conformance work as well for the log format with Ethereum. Just tons of little things like consistent index numbering, putting things in the right order, making sure we don't serve reverted events where we shouldn't do. So just a ton of stuff here. Some new things, we've actually added a bunch of APIs over this past year. So we've got trace filter, we've got get block receipts, we've got get transaction by block number and index, get transaction by block hash and index. We're supporting the data field now on errors that are returned by ETH call and friends. And this is really important because a lot of Ethereum tooling will actually pick out that data field and use it to tell you why it's reverted. So that's new. And a bunch of these things are actually supported by Dev Guild people as well. So we've had Dev Guildies do a lot of this work, which has been fantastic. And lastly, as Arseni was saying, they're running the graph now. So we've done a lot of work to get those APIs that the graph needs working, so the graph can be serving subgraphs. So lots of work put into supporting people serving subgraphs for this ecosystem. Bunch of other things we're doing. We've got now this ETH standard latest safe finalized and pending block specifiers. They're in a bunch of places now where they weren't before. These will be improved further when F3 goes live, because we're able to do things like say finalized. Oh, finalized, that's like 2 blocks from head. Great. we're supporting. We've now added support for different Ethereum transactions. The Lotus send command now works with Ethereum addresses. We've got Filecoin address to ETH address translation working better. It works with all address types now. The Lotus gateway has better rate limiting and stateful ETH feed filter management. I think the work in there goes to some of the stuff that Station was talking about. So I'm going to go and talk to Julian after this about his filters, because I think I know what he's talking about, and I think we can get them working with filters instead of polling. We've sped up get block by hash, and we're now doing more consistent handling of null epochs. This is really tricky, this one, because this is not a concept that Ethereum people are used to. So we have to make a choice. When somebody asks for a block number that was a null round, what do we do with it? We've got a choice between returning an error or returning a null. We've made the choice that returning an error is better for that one. But you're welcome to have that discussion with us if you think that was wrong. But there's reasons for that. I'm going to hand over to Ash, and he's going to talk about chain index. So this goes to some of the stuff that it was in the last talk about making faster lookups, taking this really complicated blockchain structure and making it easier to query. So over to you, Ash.
Hey guys, how you doing? All right, yeah. Okay, so as you see, we've done a bunch of work to improve the ETH RPC experience on Filecoin, because I think the market and users have told us loud and clear that it is important for them. Okay, and you can talk to XLR, which runs a bridge on Filecoin. You can talk to Protofire, which is an RPC provider. They're also helping subgraph indexing and supporting the graph. And all these users say very vocally that they've seen a drastic improvement in the performance, reliability, and correctness of these ETH RPC APIs and the Ethereum tooling on Filecoin in general over the last 6 months, which I think is a good testament to all the work that has been done here. So this is the kind of work that enables a whole bunch of tooling and builders, to improve their apps and their services by making a change at like the core layer. So the chain indexer is kind of an implementation detail that might not be important to dApp builders, but is important at least for RPC providers. So it's basically the indexing of chain state. We had this earlier in Lotus, but the indexing of transactions, messages, events, transaction step sets were spread across multiple indexes, across multiple databases, which creates its own set of problems, which is where a lot of these correctness and performance concerns were coming from. So we've revamped the indexing in Lotus, we've rewritten it, we've combined all the index into like one index called the chain indexer, which indexes messages, step sets, transactions, event logs, and maybe more in the future. And it's all now in one database, which makes the UX and maintenance easy for RPC providers. I want to just give a high-level overview of everything that it does for you. Keep in mind, Filecoin is not Ethereum. Filecoin has its own idiosyncrasies, such as null rounds and empty blocks and deferred execution and whatnot. So this is a non-trivial piece of software to build. The way the chain indexer works is, it accounts for deferred execution, where message inclusion is indexed separately from message execution. It makes sure that it exposes only executed tipset and messages to end users. It accounts for the async nature of indexing and wraps the async indexing in a synchronous read API to provide a sane UX to RPC providers. It removes reorg tipsets that are no longer part of the canonical chain. We've introduced garbage collection, which did not exist earlier, which meant that the disk just kept filling up and the index collected state that would no longer be accessed because the corresponding chain state was already garbage collected. This now works. It's very easily configurable. We have automated backfilling. So if your node crashes and comes up again, it's the node will automatically make sure that the index catches up with the chain state. There's nothing you need to do for it. It's all hidden for you and works from you and works seamlessly. We have snapshot hydration of the index. If you import a snapshot and start your node, the index is automatically hydrated and backfilled from the snapshot. There's nothing you need to do here at all. It's a very simple config. We've gone with the approach of keep something in the config only if there is a user ask for it. the earlier indexing config was a bit bloated, because every time like an engineer thinks, oh, we should add an op for this, we just add an op for it. We don't really ask anyone if they need it. But we started with a very default no approach and have been very lean with the config. And we've also gotten good feedback about it from RPC providers around how easy it is to configure and run. And there's a lot more in the chain indexer that you can read up on the issue. We have a great user doc for RPC providers that you can look up. It took us around 2 months to implement this and get it right and polish the edge cases. But I'm happy to say that after 2 months of effort and 7,000 lines of code which have been merged, and we've also archived, we also running our own archival node to dogfood this, and we've already indexed 2 years worth of state of it on it using the chain indexer, and it's working super seamlessly now. Here's the archival node, which has all the state going back to like epoch 0. We've indexed all chain state up to the Febm launch epoch, which I think is about a year and a half worth of state. So here's like here's me calling ETH get block receipts, which is an involved RPC call, because you need to fetch the receipts, you need to fetch all the events log for the receipts, you need to fetch all the transactions in the block, etc. So this is for an epoch which is I think around like 7 months or 8 months in the past, and it works seamlessly. Here's a ETH get logs call. My terminal for some reason is just hanging. Yeah, this is ETH get logs for an epoch that is around I think 6 months in the past, and it works seamlessly now. This was not as performant before, neither was it as correct before. So which is great, because this makes building things like subgraph indexers like seamless. And Arshani just gave a talk before around how like they've helped the graph build six subgraphs on Filecoin. So yeah, this is the chain indexer. We've basically rewritten indexing in Lotus, and it works really well now for all ETH RPC APIs. If you have any questions, I'm here. Come find me. We have put together a very detailed user doc for RPC providers that they can look up to understand how to configure, enable, maintain, and operate the chain indexer on an ongoing basis. Thank you.